get ready for some upbeat banter, plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of love for the game and our team. This is Buds and Blue Jays. And now your hosts, Riley McConnell and Jesse Burrell.
Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday, July 28th, and welcome to episode 198 of Buds and Blue Jays. It's your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. We got full squad here with us today. I'm Jesse Burrell with Riley McConnell, Jesse Turiso, and guys, as we said on our trade deadline preview, the Toronto Blue Jays are going to be very, very busy over the last few days, and they sure have. They traded 3 players so far, and the deadline is still 2 days away. We're going to get into all that, say goodbye to some of our long-term Blue Jays, talk about some of the prospects we got back, and hey, by the way, we also swept a series against the Texas Rangers, so we're going to touch on that too. But gentlemen, what's up? Very busy week in Blue Jays land. How are we feeling, Riley? We'll start with you.
Look, it's great that we got the sweep against Texas today. I was lucky enough to go to the finale. Great ball game, by the way. We'll talk about that later in the show. But, I mean, the sweep doesn't feel as exciting because we know around we're kind of lighting off fireworks with this team, and not in the good way. Our best relief pitcher gone, our longest tenured player, one of my favorites is gone, and then someone who I thought shouldn't have been moved, perhaps. Maybe there was some guys I would have liked to seen get moved before. So yeah, we on field, great. Loved the weekend series against the Rangers. But as far as the rest of the season goes and what this week meant to the Blue Jays organization, I mean, hey, we're planning for the future. I guess we're clearly sellers. It showed in the last 2 or 3 days. And I mean, it's definitely a bitter moment as a fan for sure. You'd never like to see these things, but it's kind of what has to happen at this moment.
Absolutely. And Jesse, how are you feeling with the moves the Blue Jays have made so far?
Oh, it's definitely been a roller coaster of emotions this weekend with some fan favorites gone, some players that you're expecting on, but still the bitterness of seeing what we got back. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, let's just dive right into the 3 big trades the Toronto Blue Jays have made so far, and we'll get our thoughts on those moves. The first one, Riley, if you are not watching this episode on YouTube today, I really suggest you do so. Riley and I are both rocking the Danny Jansen speed goggles here in honor of our fallen soldier, Danny Jansen, longest tenured Blue Jay. And boys, I think we should start with that trade right there, because this is the one that probably might not be the biggest return, but the one Blue Jays fans are talking a lot about. First of all, shipped to the Boston Red Sox, which was a team I did not think he would go to. And I actually watched him play a bit on Sunday Night Baseball tonight. It looked weird seeing Jano in that Red Sox jersey. Not going to lie. But we got 3 players from him. 22-year-old Cutter Coffey is his name. 6'1", 190 pounds. Young player. We got Edison Paulino, who's an infielder, 22. Seems more like a safe bat. Could be a full-time bench guy if everything works well. And Gilberto Bautista. 3 players for Danny Jansen for just 2 months of Danny Jansen for what it's worth. What do we think of this move here, boys? Any of these prospects really stand out, or do you think this is the right way to go?
I actually sort of know Boston's farm system a little bit because they do have some interesting pieces. I mean, you always feel like you could have got more. I guess that's the homer in me coming out right now because it is Danny Jansen. And I know how impactful this guy can be to a team, whether it's 2 years or 2 months. He's going to do great things for that Boston Red Sox team, and deservingly so. I think he's going to get the full-time job ahead of Wong. He's going to benefit from hitting towards the green monster and left. I mean, they got to love that. They did the research on that. Look, the prospects, are really nowhere near the major leagues, and we don't know if they're going to pan out. There's always that. But, I mean, we clearly weren't going to extend Danny Jansen. I don't even want to go back on the catcher we gave up a couple of years ago.
Right.
But it looks like Kirk is going to be our guy. It won't be Brian Serven. Then there's like Zach Britton and Phil Clark in the minor leagues. Like the catcher, we went from having probably the most plentiful players at the catcher spot now, and it seems like 15 months or 24 months later, 2 years later, we're very thin in that position now. So hopefully the prospects work out. But as far as the Jansen side of things, I mean, irreplaceable in my opinion. Clearly one of the best hitting catchers in baseball. I think he was well liked by the coaching staff, players, the fans. I mean, he was kind of what Toronto Blue Jays baseball represented since he came up with the Toronto Blue Jays before the COVID shortened season. Actually, 2018 he played 31 games, so even 2 years removed before 2020, he was there kind of as one of the first players on the turnaround spot. And the most I guess the most head scratching thing is he's only ever played 100 games in his career once. I hope wherever he goes, he gets a fair shot to be a starting catcher and go and play some good baseball, because him splitting time, I mean, I get it, but he's going to go on. He's destined to do great things in this league. And whether it's with us or hopefully an NL team, if it's not us, not the Boston Red Sox, I mean, I love Danny Jansen. I've said it numerous times on the show. It sucks that he's gone, but I think this is what had to happen in a way if we were going to roll with getting rid of someone. I mean, again, could have got more on the return, but I guess we'll take what Boston offered us.
I mean, it's a smart piece of business, right? If you're going to let Danny Jansen walk, you got to get something for him. And these prospects don't scream exciting, but at the end of the day, they're lottery tickets, and that's what you want. If you're going to try to win the lottery, just try to get as many tickets as you can. And we got that from Danny Jansen. Jesse, do you have a thought on either Danny Jansen, his tenure in Toronto, or maybe some of these prospects we got back?
It just upsets me thinking about that trade you didn't want to talk about, Riley, so I'm going to talk about it. You traded away Gabriel Moreno, who was a quote-unquote probably our best offensive and defensive catcher. Is like both the Kirk and Jansen combined. And we got Varsho. Gotta love Varsho for his defense, but you trade him away. So you would think we're going to extend him, at least Kirk or Jansen. I wanted Jansen extended. I know you definitely did, Riley. And Jesse, I know you probably did too.
Yeah, we said that last episode. Yeah.
Is that so? Like, I knew the writing on the wall was Jansen was probably being traded, being a free agent. But why would you trade a blue chip prospect in Moreno without knowing Kirk would ever be that all-star first half ever again, or that we have a prospect to the level of Moreno? Like, I am more upset about how they played this all out and have made our organization catching depth a joke.
I mean, let's see what happens. Like, if Danny Jansen resigns back here in free agency, then it's a different story. But, you know, I still think we had to give up something to get Varsho, and giving up Moreno might have been that move. And I'm not really upset about it too much, nearly as you guys are. But Riley, let's hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, look, if we can get Danny Jansen back, but I think Boston sees him for this push that they're making. I think there's a team out there that's gonna offer him the dollar amount because they see that upside. I feel like the Blue Jays just won't match it because they'll just lazily say we have Alejandro Kirk. Oh, he's our starting catcher, and they'll fork out a quarter or an eighth of the cash. And give it to a guy who's going to be a primary backup catcher, maybe a guy who starts in AAA, like a guy, not a Danny Jansen is what I'm getting at. The guy is irreplaceable. We knew that he was probably going to be moved. He did get moved. Did not expect a divisional rival in the Red Sox. It's almost too good of a fit for the way he is. I know that seeing him in a Red Sox uniform is very strange, to say the least. And you wish he was the type of guy that played his career, entirely here. The Blue Jays, I think of like Blue Jays all-time catchers that stayed long-term. You think of a guy, maybe Ernie Witt's up there. And then you got to give like some love to Danny Jansen because he's been there. I don't know what the all-time list is, but I feel like we've rented a catcher, for a lot of it. And Pat Borders was very good in those postseasons, but I've looked at his statistics. Pat Borders was not the greatest player down the stretch in the regular season. Danny Jansen, not really given, the plate appearances that I thought he should have for the past few years. And I mean, he's going to go make an impact somewhere. If it's not with the Blue Jays, he's going to go make an impact somewhere else. He's a darn good catcher, very unique at his position, and I'm going to miss him, man. In the lineup and just seeing him in the dugout when he's not fielding, not taking his at-bats. He's just a guy you like to have on your roster.
Yeah, and you're not alone in feeling that way too. Danny Jansen was here since 2013. He's been in the system forever. Like he said, he made his MLB debut in 2018. Danny Jansen had a lot of great moments with this team. I'm looking at the pending free agent catchers for next season, and it's Danny Jansen, it's James McCann,
Carson
Elias
Kelly.
Diaz. Yeah, he's up there. Like Kyle Higashioka. Like these names don't excite you for anyone behind the plate, right? So to me, it's Danny Jansen or bust, and let's really see what they do in the free agency there. Guys, 2 more trades and 2 more big ones that the Blue Jays made, as I do want to move on and talk about these as well. The first one is Jimmy Garcia, and we talked about in our trade deadline preview that we thought, look, out of all the Blue Jays trade candidates, Jimmy Garcia was the only one that was really firing on all cylinders at the time. And we thought maybe this could be the player that we get the most for coming back in the draft. I think the Blue Jays did all right. We took an outfielder, Jonathan Clase, who made some appearances with Seattle. He didn't hit well up there, but he was hit pretty good in AAA. His number one tool is his speed, which I thought was interesting. The Blue Jays are really targeting that as a skill set. He had a 2070 season in the minors. I believe he was the first one to ever do something like that. He's short, but he's got good power to his swing. He's going to be a good low ball hitter as he goes. He's toolsy. He might be one of the best athletes now in the Toronto Blue Jay system. Very interesting guy, and he was immediately sent to Buffalo. But I think if we do trade Kevin Kiermaier, who actually left today's game getting hurt, it won't be long before we see Class A in the minors as well. And we also got another catcher, Jacob Sharp, but he's a long way away from doing it. So, Jesse, we'll start with you. How do you think we did on the return here in the Jimmy Garcia trade?
I'm happy with the Class A return, but I also wanted another prospect in that tier of the Mariners prospect. So I would have loved Harry Ford. That was the guy I wanted the most from Seattle.
There's a catcher.
But exactly, that's why, because I'm if Jansen's gone, at least we have that Moreno 2.0, that type of prospect coming up. But Class A, I'm definitely intrigued by seeing his numbers, seeing last year him having 79 stolen bases in a season. That's even that's just old school style, Ricky Henderson. There you go, right? There's an Oakland A for you. And just seeing numbers like that, you don't see it anymore. And that's definitely exciting. What we could do if we turn into more of a small ball team with the creating runs in the future. That is something I'm definitely excited about.
Do you think that's the avenue the Jays are going to go then with trading for a player like this? They could have had a few offers and they chose Class A and his skill set. So is that maybe a shift the Blue Jays are making here?
I think it's a shift in mentality since they're seeing how limited our power is right now. Because before we wanted the home runs, and now it's turning to be your worst enemy in small ball.
Okay, interesting. We'll keep noting. We'll see how we use it. Riley, how did you feel about Jimmy Garcia and the prospects we got back here?
I mean, first of all, with the small ball, I'm going to touch on the small ball thing. Then go
back
into that. I mean, 2 sack flies in today's game. We manufactured some runs. I thought that's nice. Small ball is nice sometimes, guys. It goes along well with big runs on the board to kind of pad a lead a little bit. I thought the trade was fine. I think the value in relief pitchers is less than, say, a starting pitcher. I think when you're talking about elite, relief pitchers in baseball right now that are, we're going to get dealt. Jimmy Garcia definitely close to, if not the very top of that list for non-closer role. And I say non-closer because, yes, he's pitched like a closer this year, but he's not really been a closer of the past. Certainly more of an 8th inning kind of stopper, shutdown guy, setup role, whatever you want to call it. He's going to be great in Seattle. I love the return for the outfielder. I think Clase's got great tools, man. Power, speed in the outfield is dangerous. It puts me in mind of a Willie Mays, Ken Griffey Jr. Now, of course, those are the biggest result type guys. I mean, it's not going to be like that, certainly. But they're the most interesting tools for me as an outfielder. I mean, if you steal 79 bases, that's a threatening thing. And 20 home runs to go along with that. Very good numbers. I mean, his cup of coffee did not taste very well for him in the major leagues. That's fine. We definitely have a spot on this team for him because we have to. We sent Garcia out. We're going to put this guy to the test at some point or another. Whether Kiermaier goes or the 20, or we go into September, it's the 28-man roster, whatever avenue it is, he will get into a major league game this year. We will get to see what he's got in a Blue Jays uniform. We already have seen, players make their debut with the Jays this year, a couple in the outfield, even in today's game with Baroa and Barger. So things are changing. This roster is definitely shifted drastically. I'm not going to say it's for the worst because it's for a purpose. Yes, the season has not gone the way we wanted it to, but we're making the right steps as far as that goes. And a prospect that is close to being a stay on the 26-man roster, I think is very important.
Yeah, I think I like the pick the more I really dive into Class A here, because he very much is a power speed guy, which you've talked about the upside it could be. But think like Dalton Pompey was supposed to be a power speed guy too, and look how his career turned out. But if you're the Toronto Blue Jays right now, you are in desperate need of difference makers from your farm to come up here and really impact this team, especially sooner rather than later. So pick the guy who is athletic, who might have a few holes that you think you can fix. And if you can, then he turns into that multi-time all-star. And I think Class A has a real shot. So I'm growing on this as our big one too. Jesse, do you have one more thought on that before we talk about Nate Pearson?
Firstly, it's Officer Pompey now, but yes. I definitely but no, definitely the speed and power, thinking of that, and now looking at our possible future outfield for next year, where it could be Varsho, Clase, and Burrow with that speed, or even if you have Barger in, right, and Springer's gone,
Schneider, right?
Exactly, the speed we'll have there and the athleticism. It's this is what baseball's becoming now with all these rule changes and that, and it's going to be. It could be an exciting time now with how much speed we'll have for once on the roster.
And if anything, we've talked about it this season too. If the Blue Jays are going to suck, at least be exciting. And with these players coming in, at least we have a chance to be exciting. So we'll call that a win as well.
I've been saying, let the kids play. Let the kids play.
If they don't play in the second half, we riot on this show, but we'll get into that a little later. I want to talk Nate Pearson. Blue Jays did make one more trade from the Chicago Cubs. This was a trade when we were talking about players on our preview that we were certain, they could trade him, but we weren't exactly certain that it was going to be the move. But they did. They ended up trading him to the Chicago Cubs, and we got two players back. We took an outfielder, Yohendrick Polano. He was playing in the summer league. He's actually hit pretty well as of lately. He made some swing changes. He's hit for an average player in AA right now. His prospects ranks have him about number 8 in the Blue Jays system. So this seems like a legit guy. And then we got a shortstop, Josh Rivera, who was the Cubs' number 8 prospect coming into the season. Really has struggled down in AA. There is some bad luck issues going on there, but he's got a batting average of 170 and an OPS of under 500. Could play a good solid defense. The Blue Jays are buying low on a prospect here. We'll see if anything comes from this, but gentlemen, thought on the prospect, thought on Nate Pearson and his career here. I'm repping his jersey right now, which might be for the last time in a long time, and I'm sad to see him go, but tell me what your thoughts are.
Worst trade we've talked about so far. I did not like this one bit because he had another year of arbitration. He had more control. I really, with the way our pitching goes, I don't want to see us, basically free agency roll over, and we got to now all of a sudden fill 5 spots via free agent or trade or whatever you want to do. I thought for sure Pearson was going to stay. Does that mean we're bringing Trevor Richards back next year? What does this mean? Jordan Romano is still out. It's a big question mark there. We just traded Jimmy Garcia. It's kind of a head scratcher, man. I definitely thought a Richards or even a Chad Green was going.
I still might. For what it's worth.
Oh, for sure. But let's not deplete it too much, man. Because I mean, listen, we still want to try and field at least somewhat of a competitive team. Our bullpen has been atrocious already this year. And I mean, it got a lot worse this week. And at least Nate Pearson had the upside, man. More upside than anyone else in this Toronto Blue Jays bullpen right now. And you trade him for what I consider to be basically the worst return that we got. At least with the Red Sox, there's quantity there, and with the Mariners, there's the quality there. I feel like we got neither for a guy that could be a very promising bullpen arm. Because you look at it this way, there's this non-zero chance this guy can turn around and still become a 4 or 5 starter in a rotation. I know that sounds ridiculous to say,
Yeah,
but
there were rumors about that. Yeah,
I know listen. There's time to figure him out, or we go the other route. And he's an elite setup guy and possibly get some save situations, down the stretch in his career. If there's 2 different avenues he can go. Nate Pearson's going to stick around Major League Baseball, in my opinion, from this point on. If he gets a shot with the Cubs, I know that Adbert Alazay, however you pronounce his last name, is gone. So the Cubs needed another arm. They have a decent closer right now already, but they're looking for depth. If Pearson's the depth guy, that's fine. If he's successful with the Cubs, then guess what? They're gonna offer him arbitration. They're gonna figure out a deal, and he's gonna go back next year and pitch well for him. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, the Cubs took Julian Merriweather and turned him into a stud in their bullpen, the guy the Blue Jays couldn't figure out. I don't think it's going to surprise anybody if Nate Pearson pitches 65 innings, has a 2.70 ERA, and he's getting up holds. Like, that's going to surprise not a soul. And think the things with Nate Pearson and his struggles with his time with the Toronto Blue Jays, it was never about his physical stuff. It was always his mental head case. And let's be real, guys, the Blue Jays really screwed Nate Pearson up. They moved him around. They had him starting to relieving. They moved him up and down all the time. They let him throw a ton of pitches. Like, the Blue Jays did not handle their top pitching prospect well. And I think that goes to show he's going to get to another organization who can treat him well, and Nate Pearson's going to flourish. I don't think there's a doubt in any of our minds that that's going to happen.
Totally right. Agree. Mm-hmm. And it's not, and the Cubs also did with another for Jay and Brandon Morrow, turning him into elite back into the bullpen. Wow. And seeing those prospects too, it's like you couldn't get more. Like, I'm seeing Adams from the Rays and a bunch of other middle relievers, and seeing them get a bag full of prospects that are actually can impact a team. And we just pretty much got a bag of peanuts for Pearson.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on the outside looking in, Pearson had a mid-5s ERA. He hasn't been getting a long time, so maybe other teams aren't judging Pearson as high as we are.
Then what? Then that leads. Then that leads us back to the question. Then why trade him in the first place? Because if the return isn't going to be as heavy as what he's going to do, we still have the control over him, and he has kind of the versatility. I know there's no such thing as a utility pitcher role, but if we're going to sign it to anybody, it's going to be either Trevor Richards, who can shove it at this point, or Nate Pearson, who at least has the potential for the upside. It was a stupid trade. The return 100%. Was not good. The return was not good. And if you're going to trade a relief pitcher, I've talked to quite a few people about this already. Some people listen to the show, some people don't. So this one's for you guys. And everyone had this same gripe that us 3 are having right now. It's like the return we knew the return wasn't going to be that big for a guy with a 5 ERA. But we know that at any point he can turn it around, which I hope he does. I mean, because we did screw him by moving him around. I remember, Jesse, we want to talk about, because you're big, Jesse. What's your favorite Nate Pearson moment? Well, unfortunately, I don't really get to have one, but I remember him getting absolutely freaking shelled at Fenway. Because at that point, the Jays had just twisted him around. And I'm pretty sure there was a year, I'm not sure what it was, 2021 or 2022, whatever year it was, that he had a complete year off from Major League Baseball, that he just pitched in the minor. I don't know what year that was. There was just a lot going on for Nate Pearson. So if he gets a fair shot, same deal as Danny Jansen, a guy who wasn't really, I'm not going to say treated, that's a poor word, but we'll say utilized properly. I think that's Nate Pearson right now. And if he sticks with the Cubs, that's great, because, guys, we know what he can be when he's on. He wasn't on this year. That's too bad. You still hope that he could have figured it out, but too late, toodaloo. He's gone to Chicago.
I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Nate Pearson. He's always going to be one of my guys. I wish him nothing but success. I wish so much more than anything it could have happened in a Toronto Blue Jays uniform, but that's just how our management goes. Sometimes they ruin these things, and it happened here.
Oh, I totally agree. I have that photo with him to always cherish.
Yeah.
All right. Just one more note on the prospect before we talk about what is next, and then talk about the Texas Rangers series. I just have initial placements for all these guys coming down. Class A is, like I said, already mentioned, is down in AAA. He will likely be up in the big leagues rotation soon, shortly after the deadline. Rivera, Panago, and Paulino are all going to AA New Hampshire, with the catcher Jacob Sharp and Cutter Coffey going to High A Vancouver. And the 19-year-old pitcher we got in, the last one is just going to Single A Dunedin, Gabriel Bautista, which all seems to make sense. So if you're a prospect person listening to the Blue Jays, that's where these players are going. Guys, we talked about it on our first episode. The Blue Jays still have more work to do. We're about a day and a half away from the official trade deadline. Yusei Kikuchi is still here. He's likely going to be traded. Chad Green's still here. He might get traded. There are other names here on this team, Turner, Kiermaier, etc. What is the next move the Toronto Blue Jays make?
Wouldn't be surprised if I woke up tomorrow, because I got the day off, so I'll be getting my butt out of bed around 10:30, maybe 10:45. And I see Yusei Kikuchi's gone to such and such a team. I feel like that's the next move. Why not split up a battery? We got rid of Jano. We got rid of 2 relief pitchers. What's next on the docket? Oh, well, we haven't messed with our starting pitchers yet. So why don't we see what kind of return we can get for a starting pitcher? So I think Yusei Kikuchi's out the door next. Unfortunately, Jesse, I know that's one of your guys. You're losing more likable players than anything. There's no way he's not. I mean, he was. I thought he was going first. I thought he had to pack his bags after the last start he made. But I think like we're talking in increments of hours that Yusei Kikuchi has left as a Toronto Blue Jay.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see Kikuchi moved until the White Sox figure out what they're doing with Garrett Crochet, because I think all the teams who really need starting pitching are going to look for Crochet first, and then the teams that miss out on him are likely going to call the Blue Jays and get Kikuchi. So I think that's what we're waiting for there. Justin Turner, who we'll talk about a little later, has been awesome over this past few days. I kind of think it might be sooner rather than later we see him get a move, and I think that might be the next person out the door.
Yeah, and I would take a high A prospect that's 20 years old for something like that. Honestly, just to free up some space. Let the kids play. Teresa, I'm all about that. Turner, not a kid, very much so a father. Not only on the Blue Jays but throughout Major League Baseball. So let's get a return for Justin Turner before the deadline is up. I'm all on board with that one.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking more. It could be Chad Green going with all the speculations now with the back end relievers with across the major leagues and all that. So I can see him possibly being out, and hopefully with his term, we can actually get something back.
Yeah. With that being said, there's definitely more moves to come. We will be back to talk about them more. Stay attention to our social channels and pay attention to our next episode, which will be coming shortly after the trade deadline. We'll talk on all the other trades that the Blue Jays make between now and that day. But gentlemen, don't have a ton of time to go, but we do got to talk about the series that was against the Texas Rangers. Riley, you were at the game today, and it was the best game for you to be at. You saw a Jose Barrios very good pitching performance here today. You saw some nice home runs. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. continues the hot streak. A lot of talking points coming out of this. Where did you want to go? Well,
I will say I was on the can for the Vladdy home run. Basically, I don't know. I knew the Varsho. I might have been the first guy to know that ball was out of the ballpark. I think I stood up and I said, "That's well struck." It was a great ball game to be at. Unfortunately, I had a splitting headache until about the 4th inning, so I didn't really get to enjoy a lot. I didn't have any beers, just dabbled in some street meat and then a little dish of chicken fingers. Listen. Let's go to the Brios start first, because we were starting to get worried, guys. Jesse, you're still probably worried about Jose Brios. I know you are. I kind of put my mind at ease, though, because I thought he had a fantastic start, man. We need him to be good. This is a gentleman who will not there's a non-zero chance, as you say, but I think that he will not be moved this deadline. He will be with this organization for quite some time. We need him to be good. We need him to be on. We need the innings out of him. I hope next year he's able to go. And still this year, there's still a chance he pitches 200 innings. But that's what I want to see out of Jose Barrios, and not give up the hard contact, not give up 4, 5, or even 6 walks an outing. Today was the Jose Barrios that I like to see. really mixing it up well. And that's kind of what I want more of as the as August is right around the corner, guys. And when you're in August, this is times where players heat up, players slow down. Whether the trade deadline is done or not, you can still see young guys get called up and moved down. Brios very much a staple pitcher for the Blue Jays. We don't know what kind of shape our rotation is going to be in. So we need Jose Brios to be good, plain and simple.
14 hard hit balls against Jose Barrios today. 14, I think, is the most he's allowed in a start this season, which was staggering. He did get a few more swings and misses, though, which I wanted to see from Jose Barrios. He got 11 in this start. So that is a positive, I suppose. And I think what just helped, honestly, is that for the first time all year, the Toronto Blue Jays were scoring runs in the first inning. I think we scored 4 in game 1, 3 in game 2, and we put up, I think, 3 more in this one too. So when you're Jose Barrios, and this goes for any pitcher, but if you're Jose Barrios and you're taking the mound and your team is already up 3-0, that's got to be a good job to help you settle in. I really think that's what helped Jose Barrios in this series. Jesse, did you have another player or a performer you wanted to talk about that really caught your attention this series?
Definitely want to say even in today's game was Addison Barger with how well he played offensively. And even on the base path, and even made a couple of nice catches today. So, I definitely was impressed, seeing him hit that double that was pretty much a ground ball, but it was so fast that he could turn it into a double. And it was nice to see him finally make that contact we been wanting to see.
Still love the tools from Barger. I want to see him get a full-time run here coming down the stretch. Riley, how about you?
Yeah, I gave my little shout out to Brios there. I want to say something that I saw in today's game and the game within the game type thing and over the series is I really like Stuart Baroa being on this roster and his role on this team right now. I'm not talking about a guy that's going to be lights out at the top of the order for us. I'm talking about a guy who today pinch ran for Kiermaier after he tried to make the catch in center field. Doesn't matter. Before the game, they're showing him and Vladdy dancing to the the salsa music and things like that. Laughing with Varsho. He is just a pleasant guy to have in the clubhouse on this roster while things are not going in the right direction for the Blue Jays. Stuart Baroa is a breath of fresh air for this team. I don't care what anyone says performance-wise. Personalities are intangible things, and he needs to be on this team. I don't want to see him get sent down for the rest of the year, regardless of transactions. I would personally, and it pains me to say, rather see an Addison Barger get sent down unless Baroa struggles mightily. I really like him on this team. This is me not talking about performance. I want to talk about the personality side of baseball because, hey, we swept the series and the ship's sinking. So I'm at least going to give a shout out to a guy I like that I think a lot of players in the clubhouse like. And I think a lot of fans are really going to like this guy if they already haven't taken notice to him.
Riley, I like that call a lot because a lot of the Blue Jays vibes have been down all year. People like Chris Bassett was just talking about demons after his last start and how the whole team's fighting them. Somebody comes up here from Buffalo and just goes up and is just having a good time and is bringing infectious energy, can do good to a clubhouse. So Riley, I really like that call. Jesse, quick thought before I talk about my player of the series.
I definitely think with the whole Baroa thing, when I saw him in Boston, I could see the energy, just a smile on his face and all that. But I give him the comp of what Ezekiel Carrera was, kind of Edwin's little buddy with Vladdy. So Bro is the guy can come in Ezekiel Carrera for where Vladdy is our version of Eddie.
Yeah,
and
a guy
love that comp. Love that comp.
And a guy who can do something on the ball field too. He's not just there for jokes, right?
No, exactly. He can play defense, whereas Carrera could do that too, and just come with the timely hits. I feel like that's what Bro will be with this new generation of Jays.
I like that call quite a bit. He did get his first major league hit in this series as well. So congratulations to Stuart Baroa. Couple notable plays that I saw. One, we have to touch on Vladimir Guerrero Jr., guys. He is on an absolute mission right now. He had 2 more home runs in this series. He played some more third base. That's now 5 times he's played third base this series. He even made a nice diving stab over there at third and throw the ball to first to get an out. So props to you, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. This is the best we've seen him since his MVP season. George Springer, couple more bags. Now a perfect 12 for 12 on the season is George Springer. Made another catch in right. Dalton Varsho went home run on a deep today after Spencer Horwitz. I don't know if you caught this, Riley, because you were at the game, but after Spencer Horwitz drew a walk in his first at-bat, he came in to score. He was talking to Dalton Varsho on the bench before he walked up to the plate. And then 2 pitches later, he sends a curveball over to right field. I think Spencer Horwitz kind of told him to look at that, and Dalton Varsho did stuff. So credit to Spencer Horwitz already, maybe 2 months into his thing, not afraid to tell a veteran teammate, hey, I see this. I think you should go about doing this better. So props to you, Spencer Horwitz. And we got to talk a little Kevin Gausman as well. Complete game. He did give up 3 runs, but he threw a complete game. It's his 2nd of the season, 4th of his career, and I believe it's the 3rd of the Blue Jays this season, including Jose Barrios, a little 5-inning complete game in Kansas City. So those are the big talking points from this series that took away from me, as well as Justin Turner hitting everything. There were some actually good things on the field, and maybe not so much off the field for the Blue Jays this series.
I thought it was absolutely wild that Kevin Gausman pitched that complete game. What year is it? What
117 pitches too.
Is this 1971? Like what? Like what is going on, man? Like good for Kevin Gausman. It's like he definitely, that's what you call a workhorse right there. And not necessarily a blowout baseball game. Good for Kevin Gausman for getting the job done and getting all 27 batters. Honestly, it's not like he was going for a shutout. There's no hitter on the line. That's a guy going out there and shoving, throwing pitches and getting the complete game, grinding it out. That's old school baseball, baby. You don't see things like that anymore. Real surprised it happened, but love to see it happen.
100%. That's such an old school mentality. It's like this is my game, and no one else is going to cost me this game but me. Like I was seeing that the pitch count, I was like, it felt like watching like Halladay and like even the like Dave Stewart and all the like Jack Morris, just like I'm going to pitch till my arm falls off to win this game. Like it was the best pitching performance I say all year.
And credit to John Schneider for letting him do that. Because with John Schneider early in his manager tenure, we've talked about you got to let the guy go out and throw. And he did that in this series. Maybe it's because even John Schneider can't trust his own bullpen right now, even with the big lead. But still, like balls, because that's important to Kevin Gausman. And therefore, it should be important to John Schneider. And it's important to the Toronto Blue Jays. So I want to give acknowledgement there as well.
Yeah, I mean, very surprised it happened, but at the end of the day, if you do look at this team's bullpen, maybe John Schneider kind of had a change of heart on what he should do. If Gausman felt good, no real risk of injury, he's healthy, then sure, let him pitch. And then if we run into some danger, we pull him out of the ballgame because that's kind of what you have to do, but didn't have to worry. Second complete game of the season for Kevin Gausman.
I love that.
I'll tip my cap to him for that one.
Tip your cap. Yeah, we're not done with that. Tip your cap slogan for the Toronto Blue Jays. It'll be a meme going on for the rest of the season and all season for sure. All right, gentlemen. One more big piece of news that has actually been kind of buried around the Toronto Blue Jays over all the trades and over the sweep and all the stuff that's been happening on. And this is with our top pitching prospect, Ricky Tiedemann. And we've already spent a good chunk of this episode talking about Nate Pearson, who is one of our top pitching prospects. I made the comp very early on in this show's history that Nate Pearson could be Justin Verlander. Obviously, that didn't pan out. But we've been talking about Ricky Tiedemann, how he could be one of the best to ever do it in the game. He officially is down. He's having his Tommy John surgery, which means the rest of this season is over, which means most of, or not all, of next season is over as well for Ricky Tiedemann, which means he's not going to throw again until he's, 25 years old now. It's going to be harder for him to be a prospect. He's never thrown more than 25 might be old, but it's up there. But he's never thrown more than 60 pitches in an inning. Like, is this it for Ricky Tiedemann? Like, can we count on this anymore, or is this just done?
Wow, we couldn't even wait the next episode to talk about this. Like, bang, bang, shoot me in the heart one more freaking time, man.
Yeah.
Jesse, what do you say, man? There's no such thing as a pitching prospect. I don't care what top 100 players are there. if you're a pitcher, you can fall at any time, and this proves it, man. In a season where everything seems to be going wrong, suspensions, results on the field. Let's throw injuries up there. Let's talk about maybe that we've been lucky with, some of our star players, knock on wood, with no long-term injuries, really. I know Bo Bichette is on the IL, Romano too, and some of our bullpen guys. But I mean, for the organization as a whole, major league, minor leagues, Ricky Tiedemann might be one of the most, if not the most valuable piece the Toronto Blue Jays have. And he's down and out and will be for, and I don't even want to use the term a while, a very long time, and an imperative time for his pitching development. This one hurts a lot, guys. This one hurts an awful lot. Because we were really banking on this guy, Jesse. We thought that there's a chance he comes up and makes his first major league start this year. Injuries already set him back from that. And now, did we even progress in his development this year? Or has it just been a standstill, if not step back? It's more steps back. And now we're taking a gigantic leap backwards. The potential, and, there's a chance that he still goes in and makes an impact to this club. But it's not going to happen this or next year. I mean, we're going to be waiting for Ricky Tiedemann, and we're going to hope that when he comes back, he can still be used effectively and that he hasn't lost it.
It's a lot to ask for, though, especially for a guy who hasn't pitched in quite a long time. And the whole there's no such thing as a pitching prospect thing. Remember when the Blue Jays had their draft, and as much as we like Trey Savage and the guys they got in the second and third round, we were kind of griping on this show. Well, they're pitchers. They could have all the highest upside in the world. But like Nate Pearson, Ricky Tiedemann, like Brandon Barriera, these guys all had great upside, and we're getting nothing, if very little, from any of these guys. So I do want to point out that the trades the Blue Jays have made so far, we've acquired 7 players. One pitcher who's 19 years old. The rest have been position players. So maybe, just maybe, the Blue Jays are starting to pick up on this as well, but maybe it's too little too late. Would have
been cool to do that before the draft. I mean, hey, Trey Yasevich is, a kind of more ready than some of the other guys. I would have personally loved to see some position players, outfielders. I know that we got Clase. That's great, whatever. But, man, we got to build the organization up. We already had a weak farm going into the 2024 season, and we've improved it with the depletion of our major league club now. So where's the victory in that? There isn't really one, because I'm not a Buffalo Bison fan. I don't live in New Hampshire. I mean, Vancouver Canadians, that's cool. But I'm looking at the major league roster and the results we get with our big league club. We didn't get them this year, and it's going to be some time, I believe, until we get good results with possibly some players, some acquisitions, whether it be drafted or in this kind of window of trades we've made the last couple of days. We'll be waiting, boys. We will be waiting.
We will. And even after the moves the Blue Jays have made this deadline to acquire prospects, we've gone from the 26th best farm system to the 19th best farm system. We're still not good, right? And there's still a long way to go. And that's what the big problem is for the Toronto Blue Jays here. Jesse, do you have a thought on that, on the farm, on Tiedemann?
Kick us while we're down. Literally, our 3 top pitching prospects are all out this year now with TJ, as we can't win or develop pitching prospects. Clearly, Pearson had all his injury problems when he was coming up with his elbow, his knee. That year he missed completely was because of mono. None of our pitching prospects are able to develop here. I don't know if it's because of someone in our organization and development system, or is it just we don't know how to scout or draft.
I think it's a bit of both. And that's been a big problem with this era.
And that's a big frustration. And it's clearly they're realizing, we need to pick the position players and just have to sign already proven either 4A pitchers or the mid MLB players to fill out the rest of our roster to have the depth. It's definitely becoming a frustration seeing all these injuries to our quote unquote future of our rotations.
Right. And if there is one thing this front office does do well, it's their ability to sign and give money to free agent pitchers. So I mean, that's a stretch, and it is probably truly the only thing this front office has done well so far. But if that's a skill you've identified that you think they can have, then put all of your time and effort in developing the players on the position player side, get them all up here, get them going, and then you can sign your pitchers. And then that's as close as you're going to get to a winning recipe with Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro running the ship. So that's what I got on that.
Yeah, you can't even include the phrase winning recipe with those two names.
You really can't.
Honestly, man, it's like there's the small victories, guys. Like you have to come out with something from this. And I think we did in the last little while, minus the Pearson trade. Again, draft could have gone better. That's a whole other thing. We are not going to do a draft review of this team because that would take too much of our time. And baseball is one of those sports where there's so many X factors, so many kind of question marks in how a player is going to develop that it would be pointless. You kind of just put them in your memory bank, maybe open a Google Docs, keep tabs on them. I don't know how you keep track of your prospects. There are ways. I tend to wait till guys make it through the AA and AAA parts of a farm system. But hey, that's just me. I only have enough. There's too much memory from the mid-2000s baseball that I can't fit these guys who are going to play 3 major league games in my head.
It makes sense. Well, boys, that's all I got on the rundown. I've never seen us more sad and somber after a series sweep than we have on this episode here today.
Who the hell cares? Danny Jansen's gone. I don't care. A great sweep, but yeah, Jano's a Red Sox at the end of the day. That's big picture stuff right there, guys.
Right. We will see what else these Toronto Blue Jays team does by the end of the season here. At the end of the trade deadline, as we are just 2 days away, we've still got other players, as we talked about, to be traded. We will likely come back and we will talk about them on this episode. Boys, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about here before we get to the end of the episode?
Nope. I think we're done here, guys. We're playing the Baltimore Orioles, who made a very interesting trade as well. Talk about a team that's trying to bolster their bullpen, and a team that, we're going to trade Austin Hayes. That's okay because we have so many prospects. Colton Cowser can just fill in that spot. Like, sure, go nuts, Baltimore. Like, you have a great team with lots of control, and we play them tomorrow. So
that sounds fun.
Let's get
not once but twice.
Let's get the
doubleheader tomorrow.
Doubleheader tomorrow, guys. Let's take 2. Heck, let's take the whole series, guys. I'm calling a sweep. No, I'm just kidding. We won't sweep. Baltimore's got such a good team. Let's just show them that we can be competitive. And hey, let's see some of the young guys. Let's see Barger get into a game and play well. Same thing with Baroa. We know Horowitz is going to have a good series. He's my kind of pick to click, Spencer Horowitz, because he's played so damn good all season. And Vladdy continues to light it up. That's kind of my synopsis for what I think is going to happen in this series.
Jesse, how about you?
It's definitely going to be probably one of the more painful doubleheaders to watch it in one day. But I also can see a lot of things happening before even the game started with all the players that have reportedly been sent to Baltimore with the deadline being around the corner. So for me, I'm going to clean my hands and not have the dirty hands like good old Jano.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. I'm just really excited to see Bowden Francis pitch tomorrow. He's going to pitch game 2 of the Baltimore series in the doubleheader. He's been really good since going down to Buffalo, and I think he got shafted from his starting spot. As long as that fastball is in a good spot, I think Bowden Francis can have a good start. But that's it for our episode here today, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We were live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We're going to be live on more places coming out a little here forward. If you are listening to us, tell a friend, leave a 5-star review, all that good stuff. Leave a comment down below. We will interact with you on all those social medias. For Riley McConnell, for Jesse Turiso, I am Jesse Burrell. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back with what is probably going to be more trades from the Toronto Blue Jays later this week. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.